I'm going to call the Board of Education meeting to order. We will start with our vision. We believe in opportunities, achievement, and community for all, and our mission that the School District of Milton, in partnership with the community, prepares our students for achievement and lifetime readiness by providing opportunities for all. We will go ahead and start with our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
So I have a motion from Rick, a second from Tracy. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action on the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting held on August 11th, 2025 as presented.
Second.
So I have a motion from Rick, a second from John. Any questions or comments on the minutes? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. And vouchers.
I move to approve general checking account vouchers totaling $675,308.08 as presented.
I'll second that.
So motion from Tracy and second from Rick. Any questions or comments on the vouchers? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to look. Do we have any public comment? Did anybody sign up?
John? Are you on mute?
No, I am.
Nobody. Okay, we have no public comment tonight. So I will pass it to Superintendent Dahman for admin update.
With this being the second board, thank you. With this being the second board meeting of the month, our principals and directors will come up and share information that's happening in all of their schools or departments now that staff are back and students are coming back next week, and many students are already back for different activities. There's a lot happening in all of our schools. Sarah, are you going to start us off?
Not yet. So at our elementary
All right. So as Tara mentioned, I'll also talk about the work. So this last yesterday or today and last week, we spent 2 days with John Graff from CISA 6 looking at assessment work. So what high school students or high school teachers and the teams from the middle school have been doing is reviewing all of our summative assessments through the lens of both how are we measuring the essential standards, which they worked on last year, but really getting to depth of knowledge. And what is the depth of knowledge that we're assessing our students on? I, too, am very, very proud of the high school staff. You know, some of them might have had some of the tests that they may have been using versions of for many years, but the real challenge to them the last 2 days have been to reflect upon how do we assess what we assess? Is it measuring what we think is the learning is happening, and how are we going to use that in the future? So some really hard conversations, good conversations, very proud of the staff that really dug into it, embraced what was supposed to happen. Tomorrow we'll be starting Character Strong, which is the SEL curriculum. Will be mentioned later tonight. The training with that starts tomorrow. Some of the new events coming up. We actually had our very first football game this last week. It's always great. That very first football game with the cheer, with the palms, with the band, and a great game, seeing so many students active and involved. So we will, all the fall sports have kicked off. Tomorrow we have Link Crew. Wednesday we have Link Crew. So all incoming freshmen will be working with their Link leaders. We have our back to school night tomorrow night starting at 6. Both at back to school night and then a whole day during Link Crew, we'll have our activities fair. So we'll have as a large number, the whole commons will be full of the different clubs, the organizations and opportunities students have to share that both with the freshmen during Link Crew, but also all of our students that are returning. They'll see everybody trying to get them to join their club. So it's always kind of fun, and usually you can find something pretty good to eat down there. So that's the high school.
All right, in the world of teaching and learning, principals kind of shared all the amazing things for professional development. So our teachers, a big shout out to all of our educators, the way they've engaged in the professional development to continue to grow, build their toolbox has been wonderful to watch. They've really been engaging in with our all of our presenters, and that's been the feedback from our presenters of how Milton educators are truly invested in getting better and finding ways to differentiate and support and keeping it scholar-centered. That is what they continue to tell me as we kind of debrief of what those professional development days are. And big shout out to, you know, there's certain departments that have really been kind of diving into the PD. So the high school math department for piloting, we're going to hear a little bit about that. They've really been in a lot of PD to make sure that that first pilot math program is up and running and successful. So very proud of our educators, also welcoming new teachers into our district. We have a mix of brand new teachers, but then also experienced educators, and they selected Milton. So I think that's huge of who we recruited as the high quality staff, because that's one of our pillars, and we are very excited for them to join our school district.
It's been exciting to watch the student services and special education teams get started with the year. They're always busy. Our nurses are working on their annual health plans for all of our students. Our special education teachers are already jumping into IEP meetings for students, especially those who are transferring into the district. Our school counselors and school psychs are working on 504s. A lot of those meetings are already happening with families to get students in the door and ready for day one. Our teams have also been joining a lot of the curriculum PDs, but also their own too. I had the chance to meet with student services today, and we came up with what our priorities are for the year to create some subcommittees to make some good work happen. And then I meet with special education tomorrow to stay up to date on some of the legal practices in special education and make sure that we are providing services that are student-centered and helping to close those gaps for our students. And then across the board, we're looking at the new SEL curriculum tomorrow, 6 through 12 for Character Strong. And we also have some trauma-informed PD coming later in the week.
The nutrition team has been doing much like the rest of the staff here in the district. They've been doing training. So last Tuesday, we had training all morning on different items related to nutrition. They've also been hard at work getting their kitchens open, cleaned and sanitized and ready for the students. So when they come back on that first day of school, we're good to go. So we got a little bit more of that happening this week, and we will be ready for those students Tuesday morning. So.
Before we go to the next item in the superintendent's update, are there any questions or comments from board members on the administrator's Red Hawk highlights?
I just wanted to thank whoever put together that thing for Gene Field, because that was so cool, and that was a great thing to be a part of. And so thanks to whoever put all that together, and even WASB shared that on their social media, so that was really great to see. So it's so congrats to Gene, but also thanks to everyone who put all that together. So
Yeah, I just had a quick question for the elementary and north side. What are the open houses for you guys?
Open house for the elementary level is Wednesday night from 4 till 6 p.m. And at the intermediate, I believe it's from 5:30 till 6:30 p.m.
5:45
On Wednesday?
to 7.
Okay.
5:45 to 7 p.m.
I was trying to see.
And before we jump to the next agenda item, I also want to thank our administrators for all of their planning for the work that's been going on, but especially thank our staff for the phenomenal work that's happening last week and this week. People are excited to be back, and always when summer ends, there's kind of a bittersweet back to work feeling, but there's also a great excitement around getting students back in our schools and getting ready to have those students in our schools. As I've been out in the schools, I've seen great things happening with big groups and small groups of teachers and support staff working hard to get ready. I've been really impressed.
So I would just like to also thank the people and Julie and others. Several board members were able to attend the welcome to the new teachers, and it's a really great group. It's a nice mix, and they were very engaged, and it just makes you really happy to be with them and to hear why they've come to Milton and that they chose us. And also, I really did like the Gene Fields event, but the whole opening day welcome back with the band welcoming teachers back, and pom and cheer there, and it had a lot of energy, and it was really enjoyable. So thank you to all of you for putting that together and for inviting the board members to attend.
The other agenda item under the superintendent's update is administrative guidelines, and I'll give a quick overview. The board regularly throughout the year updates and sets new policies, and we have a list of all of our policies available for community members. And then for some of those policies, we also have administrative guidelines, which are things that our team puts together to detail how we implement those policies. And there's not an administrative guideline for every policy. There's not an expectation that there would be, but if needed to provide more direction to our administrators and staff on how we'll implement the policy consistently across the district, we developed administrative guidelines. Chelsea and I have been working with Neola, and we even had a virtual meeting with Bernie Nicolay this morning, who is our Neola rep, and we are still finalizing our process, and we think that we're waiting to hear back from Bernie. He was going to check on one last thing, and we thought he'd get back to us today, but tomorrow for sure. And then it's likely that what we'll be doing is putting together a Google form that has a list of all of our active AGs, and then board members will have access to that, and they'll just click on any of those that they'd like to view and have access to those. Again, we're waiting to hear back on one possible other way to structure that, but whichever direction we go, that possibly will be finished by the end of this week, and for sure be finished by or before the next board meeting. So when we have that, whether it's a Google form or another process, we'll email that out to the board, and then you can follow up with any questions that you have, or you can click on some to check to make sure that your access is working.
Thank you. We are on to the finance. Any other questions for Rich on the admin guidelines? We're on to you, Tracy.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met on August 21st, 2025 at the district office to prepare for the annual meeting. That presentation was given at the earlier meeting this evening. I would just like to take this opportunity to thank Ross and the team for all the hard work that they did putting that together and ask if there are any additional questions on it. Thank you.
HR committee report, Rick?
Okay, thanks, Annette. HR committee met last week on the 20th. First item on the agenda is the update on the 25-26 staffing, and Chris is going to take that.
All right, thanks, Rick. Oh, thank you. Services due to increased caseloads amongst our 2 occupational therapists. Currently, Milton has not received any applicants for this position. The district has engaged with an occupational therapy vendor who will be providing services until a qualified candidate is hired. In addition, to address growing class sizes at Northside, HR has posted for a 5th grade and a 6th grade teacher. We have hired a candidate for the 6th grade position. However, the 5th grade position remains unfilled. The search for the 5th grade teacher will be paused until new candidates apply. In the meantime, students who were to be assigned to this position will be distributed amongst the existing 5th grade classrooms. To support our 5th grade teachers, HR has hired a 7-hour instructional aide to support them. Additionally, HR has posted an instructional coach position to support elementary schools with implementation of Act 20 requirements. This individual will also provide support to our current elementary coach, who is spread across 4 schools. And finally, the Northside psychologist position was first posted on June 20th, 2025, and has been reposted twice since then without success. To ensure coverage, we have secured 2 retired psychologists who will each work 2 days per week, a combination of 4 days weekly, until a permanent hire is made. And at this time, we have 8 vacant positions heading into this week.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris on that topic?
Chris, quick question on the 5th grade teacher, maybe Kramer too. What's the expectation? Do you think that'll get filled midway through this first semester or at semester break?
Right now, John, it's hard to say because we really can't predict applicants. That right now we don't have any applicants. As soon as we do get somebody, we'll be able to look at them, interview them, and then that's where Jen and Jeff will be able to make the best call possible based off of those people and those criteria. I can't say for sure,
Right, sure.
But right now we're gonna work with our 7-hour instructional aide to provide that support, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Chris, what does the class size look like currently? Or Ms. Kramer, do you?
For 5th grade?
Yeah.
27, 28.
So if and when the other teacher is hired, would look to be 25, 24, 25?
Yep. What I'm going to tell you is that depending on the candidate that would apply and we would hire, a decision will be made at that time how we will utilize that 5th grade teacher position. Yeah, depending on when it happens and then the qualifications of the candidate.
Understood. And is 27 about where it was last year?
Yeah, 26, 27. Yep.
So we're kind of maintaining versus the decrease we were looking for, but we haven't exploded the classes to where they're not the same as we have been maintaining.
Okay, to keep in mind though, these were 4th graders last year, so we've increased in the numbers. So the class sizes of last year's 5th graders were similar to this number, right? But we've gained some 4th graders that are now 5th graders, if that makes sense.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions about that? Good.
Any other questions for Chris? All right, thanks for your help, Chris. Second item on the agenda is a discussion on superintendent evaluation process. The committee, along with the help of our HR staff, has gathered information on some different types of evaluation options for the committee to take a look at. The 4 different options are the WASB evaluation framework, the district administrator performance evaluation system from CISA 6, the coherent governance model, and the career orientation placement and evaluation system. We had a brief discussion regarding the different options, and the committee members are going to look at the different models, and we will be meeting again towards the end of September to decide on what to recommend to the board. Any questions on this topic? Please feel free to reach out to me if anyone has any comments, questions, suggestions about this topic too. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. John will be reporting on instructional, co-curricular, and student services committee report. John?
Thank you, Annette. As you can see, there are a plethora of agenda items underneath that committee report. So I think I will just turn it over to Julie, Chris, and Jeremy. Whitney.
Julie, Jeremy, and Whitney.
Whitney. Sorry, Chris.
And Tara.
And Tara.
As they're coming up, I do want to, in board docs, agenda item 5A is just a holding spot for the slides from that presentation. We won't be going through those today, but wanted people to have, board members and community to have access to the slides that we went through at that committee meeting.
And also note, most of these things, or I think all of these things are just for information and updates. No action tonight on these.
And administrator. And so we came together, we reviewed. So I was a facilitator. I was not a member of the review team, but I was the one who led the facilitation and reviewed and updated the human growth and development program plan. There weren't major changes of the actual content or the objectives. So the team met and reviewed it and then updated it accordingly. Questions?
Just looking at the list, is there a requirement, or how do you look to say which schools? How do you sprinkle in the different, so the scholars and the parents and?
So the plan actually is a progression of each of the levels. So it's broken down with the objectives that is taught, the number of days it's taught, where it's taught. So it pretty much lays it all down from 4th grade all the way up to 9th grade. So it's
Does that
attached
answer your
in-
question, Tracy?
So, sorry, I appreciate that. My question was, so when you look at the group on the team, you have scholars and you have parents, aside from the community member and the clergy. So are they across multiple schools, or do you focus more on the schools that are impacted by?
So we look at the actual plan itself, and then we go through all the objectives of the progression plan. So the human growth and development plan is created, and then we reviewed it as a team. They reviewed it as a team and decided what, if there's any updates that we needed to add or change. And then based on their recommendation is what was updated. So we had.
Julie, I'm going to pause you for a second. I think what Tracy is asking is the makeup of the people
yes.
that are on the team.
Sure.
And asking, do they represent multiple schools between the staff and the parents and the scholars?
Yep. So teachers and students can only make up 1/5 of the committee. And then like district employees or their spouses or school board members can't be more than 25%. But parents can be as many as they can be.
Julie, do they make up multiple schools or are all the staff and parents and students all coming from the same school?
No, they're from all, so they represent from all levels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, understand your question, sorry. All right, any questions? Okay, the second part was the secondary math pilot, and I spoke to that as our kind of update. During the spring, our high school math team selected 4 math resources that they really wanted to take a look at. We had vendors come in and provide a presentation. They actually walked them through a lesson. And from there, they narrowed it down to 2. So this fall, they are piloting CPM first and then Amplified Desmos math. We also included 2 8th grade algebra teachers as part of that pilot. So they will also be, so there's a total of 6 high school and then 2 8th grade algebra teachers from the middle school. So our goal is to select one of those resources that can be implemented and adopted for the 26-27 school year. And then middle school will also be looking at math resources this fall and then determine what they will choose to pilot. Questions?
When it comes to that, would it make sense to have the same curriculum for high school and middle school, or not necessarily?
So usually it's a K-8 or it's a 6-12. So that's kind of where middle school, that 6-8 is kind of where we really try to align the continuum. So they're looking at iReady as an option to pilot also at the 6-8 level, because our K-5 adopted this last year for that continuum. So ideally, yes. But we also look at those math resources to see how they are aligned. And even if they may be different resources, we look at the standard alignment and the vertical alignment to determine if that is the best math resource to adopt.
Question on the technology required for the resources. Obviously, at the high school level, they're using MacBooks, but they're using iPads in the middle school. Is that considered when you're looking at these, the availability of the ease of access from the different technology?
So they have it's usually through an app through our Clever. So it's digital seats. So they can access textbooks, all of their like workbooks, unless it's a vendor who we have to get actual workbooks for, but usually that's more at the K-5 level. So it does not impact them to access the materials because many of it is digital. Any other questions? All right, and then we have Act 20, which is the early reading readiness update. There has been some new updates around the requirements, so they've added more additional screeners for our kindergarten and first grade, and that was based on feedback last year when it was implemented. Essentially, is they DPI collected that information and then they kind of analyzed, and they noticed that our kindergarten and first grade scholars were being identified at a very high rate. So when we're looking at 40%, 30 to 40% of our scholars in kindergarten and first grade are being identified below the 25th percentile. They really looked at, are these screeners the most effective to get that data? So they have added some additional assessments, but then they're using a composite score to determine instead of what the criteria was. They also renormed all of the assessments, so we cannot compare last year's to this year, so that they have new cut scores. So ultimately, we're really working through those reading plans of the scholars who already fell below the 25th percentile in the winter and spring, and what are our next steps? Because our hope is that when they come in the fall and we give these screeners, because of these new norms, they will end up not being identified below the 25th percentile. So there's some new training that teachers have to do, but it's based on the feedback that they all gave. Questions?
Any questions for Julie?
I have one question on that. Again, sometimes you wonder or worry, are they just lowering the bar to have kids not as many scholars beneath it? But I guess, what is the feedback from the teachers and yourself on, were you seeing students on these plans that you didn't think maybe it would be applicable to, or are you saying this is in line with exactly what we thought?
So the feedback is when we identified our first graders on oral reading fluency, many of our first graders, they develop that reading skill towards the end of the year. So when we are having them read 1-minute probes, and then that's how they're identified. We know that our early learners have other skills that can demonstrate that they do not fall below the 25th percentile when it comes to these foundational skills, like around phonics, word fluency, nonsense word fluency. So they've added additional kind of subtests than just 2 1-minute probes for the rate. Essentially, is what they were really collecting is how many words could our first grade scholars read in 1 minute? And so when you have a scholar who is a perfectionist and wants to get all the words correct, they may read at a slower rate, which means that they didn't meet that cutoff, and then they would fall below the 25th percentile. So our educators, our teachers, believe that many of our kindergarten and first grade scholars fell below the 25th percentile who really didn't need a reading plan, but because the law says that we have to create reading plans for anybody who fell below the 25th percentile. So our hope is with these additional subtests that it will show more of a reflection of our scholars who truly may need extra support in those early foundational skills.
Okay, so you're confirming that you and the staff support the additional screener so you can truly focus on the scholars that need it versus spending time, energy, and effort on scholars that, I mean, if they need it, then absolutely. But if they don't, then you're taking that time away from the scholars that do. So.
Yeah, it's one data point. That was, that's what we were identifying some of our scholars to is because of one data point. And we look at multiple. We triangulate data all the time. We don't go off of 1 or 2 1-minute oral reading fluency tests.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions? All right, I'm going to hand it over to Jeremy.
Thank you, Julie.
All right, so I was very excited to share with the committee an update on healthcare sciences at the high school. I start off by kind of giving a brief history. Over the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen a huge increase in the number of students who have interest in healthcare sciences. We've had the CNA program for a while. That's students who work with Black Hawk Tech and used to go to Black Hawk Tech through youth options and then start college now to take classes that get to that certification. 2 years ago, though, because of the demand, Amy Kenyon and I created a program where we actually brought an instructor from Black Hawk Tech on site with huge success. We maxed that course out. The 2 trimesters were able to hold it. And then this last year, we contracted with Mercy Health to teach EMT classes in certification. We had 10 students receive an EMT certification this last year. One of the things that we're noticing, students who want to get in their post-secondary plans, the students who want to go into healthcare industries, whether it's to become almost at any level, whether it's become going into nursing or even into becoming a physician, they're required to have types of certifications to get into the program, or it helps them get into those programs at the university level. So in looking at that, and number of students who just have that interest, we're trying to expand those opportunities. The amount of students taking coursework as well. 6 years ago, we started the Project Lead the Way courses, Principles of Biomedical Science and the Human Body Systems, and those have been maxing out as well too. And then this next year, we are starting the Introduction to Healthcare. That's a course that you guys approved that we're going to be starting next week. We had 2 sections of students. I could have offered 5 sections or more of that. So all this is leading to, as I've been evaluating this growth and demand and also trying to fill needs, we realize, and we've learned something through our last building process, when you build it, the students do come. So last spring, Stephen Shantz and I started working with Plunkett Research to look at potential plans to renovate 3.5 classrooms at the high school to create a new healthcare sciences facility. The location we are looking at is parts of the old math and science rooms. If you are really been in the school a while, it would have been the original band and choir rooms. If you want to, I can have Mr. Snow right now, and Rick, you would have played band in there. Those rooms right there, which really are that will be the far east end of the new STEM wing. It's a perfect spot. So we have renderings of facilities that we would someday like to pursue. I'm in the process now. We are in the process of seeking partners that would help with the funding of that. But I shared those renderings with the committee, and so we're excited. That's a someday project, but wanted the board to know that we're starting to look for partners that would help and maybe financially make that a reality. Any questions at all?
I don't have any questions, but I mean, just looking at the renderings at the meeting and stuff, it's pretty exciting stuff you're working on. So thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really where I think we need to be going. There's a lot of work to do to work with some folks that maybe would come partner along with that. That's kind of the route we're looking at right now. But I hope to be talking more about it in the future.
I don't have any questions, Jerry, but I just want to thank you and everybody at the high school that's working on this. opportunities is one of our
Yep.
keywords, as we all know.
Yep.
And this isn't the only one that you and everybody else have done over the years, always looking to try to keep your finger on the pulse of what's trending and what students really need and want. So thank you for just being alert to that.
Thank you. We have a great team that are helping remind me of all things we should be looking at, and this has been a fun one to work.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jeremy. Next up, Tara.
Hello. Our MECAS program under our alternative education is undergoing a little bit of a facelift. So as you know, MECAS used to be a consortium with Clinton and Edgerton, and that has not been the case for a couple of years. And we have been kind of kicking the ball down the road to try and rename the program. I've often said it's like naming a child, and it took several different Post-its on the refrigerator to get a name that stuck and felt right that we could use for years. So we are changing the program to Milton Achieve, or Achieve. And so focusing a little more heavily also on post-secondary goals with individual students. Our lead teacher there, Kim Helgestad, has been very passionate about trying to help students really find their pathway and helping them make goals that are attainable and make steps while they're still within the program to start on those goals so that they're more achievable for each student. And the program will focus just on juniors and seniors. We've had the most success out of MECAS with that age range. On the slideshow, there is a program information sheet if you want to dig deeper, but it will be called Milton Achieve from now on. So I will probably say MECAS a few hundred times still, but Milton Achieve is essentially the old MECAS program, but it's just Milton students in that program. So any questions? We'll get the sign out front changed too at some point.
Questions? Thank you, Tara. Last up, back to Jeremy.
Yeah, so I am going to be Jeff Spivak for a minute here. So Jeff wasn't able to be here tonight, but also at the committee, we shared some significant updates to the activities handbook. So Jeff has been working on this for some time, and there are three major updates. Number one was the identification of tier 1 activities that will now be fully governed by the eligibility rules outlined in the handbook. So essentially, we're not changing the eligibility or the code of conduct rules for our athletes. What we have done is we have added a tier of our activities that will be treated the same for those, and essentially those that are competing. So members of our show choir, members of our marching band, fishing club, FFA, FBLA, musical, we in many ways we're putting them on the same tier, the expectations for conduct in school and outside of school, and the academic criteria, eligibility criteria will govern those segments of these tier 1 activities like they do our athletics. So it's been something we've been talking about. I believe this is a good change, and Jeff and I we've talked about that actually since the day Jeff was hired, and so that's going to become a reality. This fall, we'll be doing a lot to share with next week and sharing with our students. Jeff has sat with our activity advisors to make sure that they fully understand what this entails. But then we are taking a lot of effort to talk with students to talk about this change so they fully understand what that change is going to be as well. The second change to the activities handbook was the addition of language identifying habitual academic dishonesty as a violation of that code of conduct. So one of the things that in our handbook, but then also the activities handbook, is looking at our academic honesty and ratcheting that up quite a bit. Again, we'll be talking a lot with students about that this next week with, to be clear, some much more severe consequences for habitual, for those that have defined as a second case of habitual academic dishonesty that will cover now. It would be constituted as an athletic code violation or an activities code violation, both for athletics and our tier 1 activities for those that have a second infringement. So a lot of teaching with our students about that, a lot of teaching about what that entails, talking with staff about how, as we roll that out, talking about what academic honesty truly is, and addressing some concerns that have been growing. And we believe we have a good way to get on top of that. The third part in the activities handbook is new language modifying of the appeal process. This is much less It's not as big of a, I mean, it is a big deal, but just clarifying that the appeal process and the superintendent was technically not part of the appeal process, so we've actually added Rich as a level in that when we have folks that are appealing any athletic or activity code violations. I hope I did Jeff justice there, but do you have any questions?
Jeremy, so the tier 1, I understand. So a tier 2 in theory would be an activity, but not that's competing externally.
Right, and I use that as a description. So it's if we have the Dungeons and Dragons club that meets, that's not under the same tier. But for those that are competing, those that are representing the school district, we looked through that. We're able to find a pretty clear delineation. I don't have the list in front of me here, but for our clubs, and such, it's not considered on the same level. They're not held to the activities code of conduct or the academic eligibility requirements.
So in theory, would student council be held to that same standard?
Student council is right now not considered that's something we could consider, but that is not considered a tier 1.
Okay, I was thinking another one was like robotics. Those are the ones.
Robotics is because they do compete.
They would compete. Thank you.
Jamie, and this is the curiosity question of how it works. So eligibility then, like keep a certain GPA to participate in, how does that work with the co-curricular events?
So it does. So co-curricular events for those that still have a grade in a class. So if you take a look, particularly for marching band and for our show choir, there are still, we still have, because that's their course, there's elements of the class that are part of that academic instruction. They still have the ability to, they have to be able to show their learning and therefore their grade on that. But that doesn't mean that there won't, the restrictions or the ability to compete outside of the school day is what this is going to govern. So this new academic code of conduct or the eligibility doesn't prevent them from getting a grade in a class. We still have to be able to show that they're learning in class and their grade reflects that learning. But it can impact their ability to perform outside.
Thank you for the clarification.
I would just like to make a point that I think that was a really good addition that you guys worked through to hold all of our students to that same standard and expectation, and not just the athletic ones, but also because obviously show choir is significant and our marching band as well. So thank you for the work that you guys did.
Thank you. There's a number of other groups that are growing as well too. It's going to be some growing pains, but I think through good education on the front end, it's going to achieve what we want. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah. All right, now Whitney's turn.
All right, sounds good. I have to move this down. I'm shorter. Okay, so I have 4 areas to go through. The first one is SEL consult and PD. So for our social emotional learning, we are moving into year 3 of contracting with Dr. Dana, who is a clinical psychologist and comes to support within our buildings. So monthly, she is able to come into our buildings and meet with staff, do some visits with students, and be able to provide some feedback to our staff members of how to better support our social emotional learning needs of our students. On Thursday, she is also providing a tier 1 trauma-informed training with all of our new teachers, all of our new staff, and all of our paraprofessionals in the district. And then she will also be joining us again in the winter for another professional development day for all of our staff. So we're excited to continue that partnership with Dr. Dana. Any questions about that one?
Has that training already taken place, or is that coming
Thursday?
Oh, this is coming Thursday.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. The second piece is SEL curriculum. So social emotional curriculum. You heard a little bit about it from Jeremy and from myself. On tomorrow afternoon, we are doing Character Strong training, which is our new curriculum for 6th through 12th graders. So we have a tier 1 curriculum that will be for all of our students to help build those skills. And then we're also training our student services and special education staff in tier 2 training to be able to give some more intensive supports to students who need those. This curriculum is a continuation off of the SEL curriculum that we already have in place, K-5. Which is called Second Step. And it's just a little bit more older kid friendly and helps our students engage with that. Any questions on that one? Nope. All right. The third piece is our annual equitable services report. So it's just our report that states that under IDEA, we are required to schedule an annual meeting with any private schools that fall within our district. The only private school within our district is Rock Prairie Montessori School. So for the equitable services, we are required to calculate a proportionate share of our IDEA funds annually to be used for private school services for parentally placed private school students who have disabilities. So what we do is we take that number of students from last year's third Friday count, and we calculate that percentage there and determine how much funds we have to spend at Rock Prairie Montessori School. And we meet with Martha Carver, who's the head of school there, and we are able to provide evaluations for students that have a referral for special education. So our school psychologist from the district leads that process with a special education teacher and often a speech and language pathologist. And we also provide speech and language services to students who qualify for those throughout the school year. We do have some carryover in the funds for that from last year. So we will be working with Martha to identify what the needs are of the students at Rock Prairie Montessori School to be able to provide whether it's professional development or some more resources for their school. Any questions on that?
So Whitney, thank you. I was just going to the allocation part of the, so it says preschool 0 students, but then IDA 4.
Yep, so 2 different funds that it comes from. So this year they just happen to have no students who have qualified for IEP or ISP services who fall in that preschool age group. Last year we had 1, and that student moved up into the IDA flow through due to age.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. The last piece is the annual seclusion and restraint report. So this report looks at our total number of incidents of seclusion restraint within the district from the 2024 to 2025 school year, and kind of compares it to what we've had in the previous years. So just as a reminder, we look at seclusion as the involuntary confinement of students away from their peers, and restraint as the immobilization or reducing the ability to freely move one's torso, arms, legs, head. So when staff determine that that's the necessary recourse, that it's due to a clear, present, and imminent risk of harm to that student or to others. And it's the last resort that staff use. So we train any staff who might need to use that in what's called NVCI or nonviolent crisis intervention. Our staff are going through that training. Some of them went through it last week. If they're new to NVCI, they go through a full day. And if it's a refresher because they've had the full day, then they do a half day. So all of our staff who respond to behavior situations like that have been trained. We also work on additional de-escalation strategies through the professional development that we do with staff throughout the year. We work on proactive planning, so we are able to identify students who have higher numbers of seclusion and restraint and work with their teams to develop a plan to be proactive to reduce those numbers. And then we also have some of the external expertise, like we talked about with Dr. Dana, of some fresh eyes coming in and seeing some of these situations to support our staff. After each incident, our school team members debrief and talk about what the incident was, how it went, and what they could do in the future to kind of perfect that practice a little bit. And for our students who have IEPs, if they have 2 or more seclusion restraints within a school year, the IEP team is required to meet as a whole team, look through the IEP, the behavior intervention plan, and develop action steps to be able to better support that student. So if you look at our total number from 24-25, we were at 91 total incidents. So an incident is an incident of seclusion, an incident of restraint, or an incident of both, where both were used within one incident together. That is a 7 decrease from the previous school year, the 23-24 school year, but does show a continuing trend of those higher numbers in the 90s. So we are working with those schools who had the higher numbers to what we've done in the last week. And this week is we met with a team of people who were involved in those incidents, and we developed what was our root cause of why we think these are happening so frequently, and it has to be things that we can control. And then we're able to develop some action steps of what we're going to do throughout the year to hold ourselves accountable for helping to reduce those numbers and supporting our students in other ways. Questions?
So Whitney, on that, so obviously 91 incidents over 12 students.
Yes.
So it's high numbers, either low or however that pans out. Are the staff that are engaged in those, because obviously it's trying on them as well, are they able to seek assistance and, like after the incident? Because again, I can only imagine what that is like for the staff as well as the student and the parents and so on. But we provide that to them after those incidents?
Yep, that's part of the debriefing process. So that process is a process that we work through as a team of a non-judgmental zone. It's a place where we're able to have those conversations and work together. And we also have some behavior response teams within buildings so that when staff get to a point where this it's becoming too much, we're able to tap out and be able to support each other.
I'm going to add too, from the human resources lens, we help with that for the workers' comp injury, as well as providing opportunity at our wellness clinic for conversations with our health transformation consultants. And I know that has taken place over the last couple of years and has gained in popularity because of those difficult situations that staff are involved with.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Whitney. That's the end of the committee report. Long one.
Thank you. We're going to move on to new business. Excuse me. And the board attended a development session on August 20th from 6:30 to 8:30. During that time, we reviewed WASB's essential elements of governance, which focused on high levels of learning for all children. We discussed communication and engagement, accountability, quality leadership, and a strategic focus on the future. Additionally, we reviewed the results of a survey based on these criteria that was completed by board members. Based on the data and discussions, the following items were identified as areas the board would like to either implement or improve. And we know that we can't do all of the work we identified, so we will be sending out a short survey to the board members to prioritize which items we will work on this year. So the items that we identified include board and district staff communication. And this includes invitations to events in buildings and classrooms. We identified onboarding of new board members and ongoing development of the existing board to include yearly self-evaluations. The third was leadership development, and this includes working on a leadership pipeline district-wide, stakeholder and community involvement, and then finally, legislative engagement. Hopefully at the next board meeting, we will bring back the item that the board will be addressing this year. I would like to thank the board. Each person came to the development session prepared and engaged. The discussion was informative, and we have some solid ideas for the board to work on as a whole. I would also like to thank Superintendent Dahman for providing context when needed, and Randy Gutenberg, who was our facilitator and did a wonderful job keeping us all moving and on task. Anything any other board members would like to add about the development session?
I thought it was a really good opportunity to engage with different options for how we can improve as a board to serve our staff, our community, and our scholars. So thank you.
Yeah, I also want to say thanks. It was also thanks for Randy to coming. He did a great job, I thought, and I thought it was just a great chance for the board to get together in kind of a more informal way, just to kind of talk about things. And so I enjoyed it, and I think it was very productive. So thanks.
Yeah, to piggyback on that a little bit, I think back to the very first question Randy asked us, and that was, who we are, but why do we do what we do, right? I thought that was a very important question, and I think about that all the time, and that was just a great way to start the meeting. So,
yeah, I just appreciate the time to collaborate with the board. We come to meetings, we come to committee meetings, and we do the work, but we don't get to talk about how we're going to work together. And we are 7 individuals, but working together, we can get a lot done. So appreciate that time. And a really great opportunity to kind of hear other people's perspective on the board on things in a very low stakes environment. So appreciate that.
All right, the next is WASB board recognition. So we have 4 board members who are being recognized tonight by our professional organization, the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. 2 people are being recognized as level 1. So they have achieved level 1 in the Wisconsin Association for School Boards member recognition program. This program recognizes board members for their efforts in leadership and board development, and points are awarded to school board members for attending or participating in various programs and events. Members will be recognized at the fall regional meetings, and the meeting will be on September 23rd at Veterans Terrace in Burlington. So the 2 members who have achieved level 1 are John. John, congratulations. Thank you. And the other person is Ed. I don't know, Carrie, are you going to make them all stand up and have their picture taken? Oh. We also have 2 people who achieved level 3 in the Wisconsin Association of School Board Members Recognition Program. And they will also be recognized on Tuesday, September 23rd at the Veterans Terrace. And those members are Rick Mullen and Joe Martin. All right, we move on.
Annette, one quick thing. Annette mentioned the date and time for that WASB event, and Chelsea will reach out, and then any board members who are interested in attending can let Chelsea know, and she'll get that registration taken care of.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. We move on to miscellaneous. So action on our staffing report.
I'll make a motion to approve the staffing report as presented.
Second.
So I have a motion from Rick, a second from Tracy. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action on gifts and donations.
I'll move to approve the gifts and donations with gratitude.
Second.
Motion from John, a second from Rick. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And before we get to meeting dates, I just want to put one more thank you out there to Carrie for setting us up with a new sound system. I think I have been very impressed. We have pulled it off on our first meeting with the new microphones, and she says that the sound quality is much better. So Carrie, thank you for doing that and putting it together for us. All right, we are on to meeting dates. Thank you very much. To entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Motion from Rick, a second from Tracy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you so much.